Welcome. Today I will be paraphrasing, summarizing, and sharing for the August 24th Al-Anon readings in Courage to Change and a little time for myself. We'll begin with a serenity prayer and 3 mindful breaths. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. I will take a minute to look this over. The question is, how do I recognize my humanity today? I really like this page. It quotes step 10, which is, quote, continue to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it, unquote. And this person says that they had a hard time admitting that they were wrong because they were confusing making a mistake with being a mistake. It's pretty heavy. And they say that's why step 10 says when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And it doesn't say if we were wrong, promptly admitted it, because I'm guessing all of us are wrong at some time or another. Today's reminder, saying the phrases, quote, you might be right, unquote, or, quote, I could be wrong, unquote, de-escalates a situation and can open doors to conversations and helps us treat each other with respect, because we never want to be right in the wrong way. So we never want to be so, I can't think of a word other than like bratty or stubborn or righteous. That's the word they use in the book. I was trying to think of a different word. So when we're right, we can be right, but we don't want to be like, like bad sportsmanship. We don't want to, I'm right, nah. The quote is from How Al-Anon Works for Families and Friends of Alcoholics. In Al-Anon, we learn how to be a human being, not a human doing. Our higher power helps us connect to our own humanity. How do I recognize my humanity today? This connects a lot with the readings yesterday because step 10 was mentioned and making mistakes was mentioned. And so it's part of being human. Making mistakes is part of being human. So I love that step 10 gives us a way, a strategy, a suggestion, a tool to help us deal with when we make mistakes. I make different levels of mistakes every single day. Some of them are really, really teeny, and every now and then I make bigger mistakes. And in my life, I've made, well, I guess I'm thinking of like what I was thinking was like a really, really big mistake. And then I get into all like cosmic spiritual thoughts that make me think that even the mistakes that I made were supposed to happen because like things came out of those, even though I'm calling it a mistake, like good things came of it, if that makes sense. So this is just it. I could think about it for a long time, but I guess the most important part is to realize that, and it says in something in some piece of literature, it says we don't have to apologize for being human beings, and part of being a human being is making mistakes. So how do I recognize it? I'm aware of it. I'm talking about it. I'm realizing that a lot of I think part of being human is having a lot of feelings too. And I tend to have quite a few strong feelings. Certain things I feel strongly about. Um, and they're harder for me to work my way out of because I feel so strongly. So what I do is I talk with my sponsor, I talk to my Al-Anon friends, I journal, I talk to my partner, talk to people I trust, and just do the best I can every day. I was going to say something else and I don't remember what it was. Oh well, maybe it'll come back. I'm going to take a minute and look this over. Mm. This page, I don't have any markings on it, but this page has uh, made me feel very deep feelings ever since the first time I read it. So it's about how to deal with our strong emotions, especially anger. And this person says that their anger has always been a problem. And what actually helped them was losing their patience with their dog and yelling. And what made this person really aware of their own temper and how it was making situations worse is the response that their dog had, which was a look of it says, quote, hurt and bewilderment. Hmm. And they say that this incident actually helped this person to change their behavior when they were angry. Today's reminder: when we get angry, we don't have to act in destructive ways. We should never take it out on others. We can try new things that are more healthy. And Al-Anon teaches us: go to a meeting, journal, talk with someone you trust, hit a pillow, go in your car and scream, but don't take it out on another living thing. And try not to be destructive by breaking things and things like that. The quote is from The Dilemma of the Alcoholic Marriage. We have to find healthy outlets for our own negative feelings so that we can be better communicators. So true. So true. I don't have a bad temper. Like, I don't get angry and say mean things. I used to say mean things to myself internally. I do that less now. But I think the reason why I am the way I am is because my mother had a very bad temper. And she would say very mean things. And I know how it made me feel. And from that experience growing up, I made a conscious decision as a child that I would not behave that way. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't do that. Um, and probably my years of therapy helped. But it's also my personality because I tend to turn inward when I feel uncomfortable about things. I don't. I'm trying to think this through. When I say things to someone, say I say something to someone in an off tone, like as it's coming out of my mouth, I feel bad about it. So like that just makes things worse for me. So that's never been my go-to. I have a ton of other defects, like loads and loads of them, but this isn't one particular that I struggle with myself. Like I said, I was more on the receiving end of that. But what that did, and I will say this because it's so true, is and the older I get, the more hyper vigilant I am about it. Because unfortunately, I married someone who had a very bad temper, very like verbally mean, and also physically destructive. Never hurt me, never hurt my son, but used to break things because they were so angry and just had no kind of serenity and just reacted in very negative ways. But I left that situation and actually was in another relationship for about 5 years. And actually, that person was much more quiet, but did have kind of which I found out kind of a few years into the relationship. And that was the beginning of the end, is when there was a specific episode. And it only happened once. But that's how sensitive I am to it. Like that one episode, there was a switch in my head and I didn't feel safe anymore. And the relationship ended. And the relationship that I'm in now, I am, and my few friends who watch this, who know, are probably giggling right now because I am like a loving giggle, because I am so hyper vigilant about being treated gently that when anything happens, I have like this, like it truly is. It's like an compensation reaction where I am like ready to make whatever change is necessary. Like, I'm, if I need to leave, I'll leave. It's, you know how in Al-Anon they say that sometimes people go from one swing of the pendulum to like the other swing of the pendulum, and then they finally come, hopefully, to some kind of happy balance in like real recovery. Well, I would say, on certain aspects of my recovery, I'm doing, you know, really well, like setting certain boundaries or like different aspects, like, yeah, I'm doing very strongly. And then there are other things that I'm working on, but maybe not as strong as that. I would say that it's just like exactly what it is. It's a trauma response. And it's still pretty strong. It's still pretty strong in me. And it's not something that like this person's anger, it's the same thing, only it comes out in different ways. Like this person's trauma response is to lose lose it, lose their cool, and it's a mean way. Mine is to like duck and cover and being willing to change a situation, but like almost going to the extreme and assuming that it's bad and that I need to make changes. So I understand that that's where I am. And I only laugh because, like, we're all doing the best we can. Trauma is a real thing. And you know what I find? I find like that the more that I experience, I don't know if this is right or not, but I'm thinking that it is like the more sensitive I am and the more, not in a bad way, I don't know. What the heck am I trying to say? I feel like in a way, like it's liberating because I know I don't have to like deal with anything negative. But when like there's I'm stuck here. I'm stuck here. There's all kinds of thoughts going on in my head and I'm having a hard time articulating what I'm trying to say. And I think what I'm trying to say is that I'm at a point where I feel somewhat empowered to stand up for myself, that I feel worthy to to be comfortable and safe and happy in my life. And I am willing to take whatever steps that I need to take, this is all good. This is all very good. Now, the part that needs some fine tuning is what is happening at that moment. The reasons for my trauma no longer exist, and I don't need to apply them to the people in my life now. Ah, that was perfect. I did it. That is exactly what I was trying to say. So taking trauma from situations that no longer exist and applying them to current circumstances is not helpful. It is a pattern. It is like a habit. It is a pattern loop that I do not need because the reason for my trauma no longer exists. So to apply the same, I'm just repeating myself, but to apply the same things that I wanted to apply back then and didn't have the tools to do it, now I have the tools, but I don't really need to, I don't, like, the trauma isn't there anymore. Ah, what a relief, right? But the truth is, and you may feel the same way, is that it's still, it's still deep in there. So I think it takes time and it takes a lot of loving patience for the people around me who know my history to say, this is not the same. This is not the same thing. That's why it's so important to have like close people, like a sponsor, really like people in Al-Anon. I find like even I'm very fortunate I have people outside of Al-Anon, but there's something about program people that just makes them so much easier to deal with. Because they have that. They have those tools. They've done the work. In any case, that was a lot. We'll close out with the serenity prayer and 3 mindful breaths. Here we go. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Sending you love. Take care.